So recently in my annual CPF video, I shared that I have been hitting full retirement sum in my special account for 4 years. And some of you have asked, how can I achieve it? Full retirement sum at the age of 30? That has always been a burning question because it seems really mathematically impossible. And I can fully understand that. That's why I'm here in this video to really explain what happened and how did it happen. Now, for many of us, when we talk about CPF top-ups, we are concerned with this magic number of $8,000 because this is the maximum combined tax relief that you can get when you top up your SA or you voluntarily contribute to your MA Medisave. So this magic number fundamentally shapes how much we can contribute or top up. And because if you top up above $8,000, there's no incentive to do so. There's no tax relief above this limit. I mean, you still can top up if you really want to enjoy that 4% per annum compounded interest. But it really does not make sense from an incentive standpoint because you're just locking up your funds and sacrificing liquidity for your retirement fund. So having said that, how do I really hit full retirement sum by 30? I think I need to set out this context that the previous tax relief policy is very different since 2022 because from 2022 onwards, there is a combined tax relief limit of $8,000 per year. Then what about prior to 2022? The RSTU, retirement sum top up, the special account was at $7,000 per year cap up to your FRS. Whereas for VCMA, the cap is at the basic healthcare sum. These two was two separate caps and they do not coincide or share with each other. But so VCMA has a secondary cap, which is your annual CPF salary ceiling. The $102,000 multiplied by 37%, which is $37,740. That will include your employment contributions, and the gap between your employment contributions and the annual salary ceiling is your VCMA limits. But anyway, I don't want to confuse many of you because this was the old policy, so you don't have to remember what I just said. You just have to know that it was quite different based on the limits back then prior to 2022. So if you understand the tax relief policy and CPF policy before 2022, then you'll have realized that front loading is totally possible. And just in case you're curious where I'm filming from, this is in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, the Running Bean Cafe. Just having a coffee break here in the afternoon, enjoying a pandan coconut latte. And previously in November 2021, I did this video, right, talking about the policy change, where I could still do RSTU $7,000 plus VCMA $3,000 before the new policy. And I even remember at one point in time, I was topping up more than 10K into my CPF combination of, special account plus Medisave account, more than 10K per year. So I did that for around a period of 5 years from the age of 26 to 30, which some may find it ridiculous, right? Because at that young age, maybe your income is not that high enough to justify that kind of tax relief level, which I kind of agree on hindsight. But anyway, the point is that the structural advantage of front-loading your CPF top-ups, whether in terms of tax relief or building up your retirement savings or full retirement sum, is no longer applicable, right? This kind of policy structure is closed. And I could even give you a very extreme example. You could even do $7,000 to retirement sum top-up to your special account plus a $10,000 VCMA if your cap allows it, right? If you are within the cap, and you can even get tax relief of 17K total if you qualify for it. That was how it worked back then. But now it is only limited to $8,000 per year of tax relief cap. Of course, this is all before the year of 2022. And if the numbers make sense for you, then it really should do it. But say all this is also no use because it is no longer there already. It is not an option anymore. So we should not just reminisce the past, okay? We look forward. Look at the $8,000 magic number that you should top up to your CPF every year if you have the limits. By the way, if you're still confused about CPF, we talk about CPF and answering CPF questions in our 22,000 over members in the Honey Money SG Telegram group. So join us for free right there. Now, I want to talk about another engine, another machine that drove the full retirement sum in the special account. And that is the OA to SA transfer. This has not changed. The policy has not changed. And you could always do an OA to SA transfer as long as your special account is not filled up to the full retirement sum. And for this move of OA to SA transfer, I only consider it after securing my HDB BTO flat, which is our public housing in Singapore. Because once I know how much down payment and how much mortgage am I expected to contribute in the next few years while waiting for the BTO to be completed, I know how much number in OA that I need. So the rest of the OA will be transferred to the special account to build up the full retirement sum. And that was my strategy back then. And once again, I want to highlight that OA to SA transfer is irreversible. It's a one-way street. Once the OA go to SA, the SA can no longer go back to OA. So you better make sure that this decision, this strategy, this plan is right for you, because it may be right for me back then, but it may not be right for you. So how much have I transferred from OA to SA in total? Over the years, I've transferred $85,000 from OA to SA, which sounds like a lot. And the truth is that this OA to SA transfer is a loss of retirement sum pop-up opportunity. Why? Because OA to SA transfer, once your SA is at full retirement sum, remember, you cannot do RSTU anymore. But even till now, I still felt that it was the right decision, because now I don't have to rely on retirement sum top-up to SA. For tax relief reasons, I could still do VCMA, I could still do SRS contributions, and I am still able to optimize my taxes even up to this current day without the retirement sum pop-up option to my special account. So I have never regretted it. Of course, the only thing that I have a slight regret in hindsight is that I could have used my cash to invest in the equities market back then instead of contributing or topping up the CPF. But all this is hindsight bias, right? You never knew it could be a lost decade back then. And yeah, all this is hindsight because you can now say the equity markets have rose much faster than CPF interest or percent. So let's do an honest reality check. So given 2022 policy change, if I could only top up $8,000 as a tax incentive every year, will I hit my full retirement sum by 30? I can answer you honestly, I will not hit it. I definitely will not hit it with just $8,000 of contributions every year. Even if I did my continuous OA to SA transfer, I will not hit it by age 30. Because the limit is 8,000, right? I could not do my 5-figure CPF contribution or CPF top-ups, and there is no tax relief beyond that. So I could never hit it at 30 anymore. So this is not a motivations issue. This is a rules-based issue or policies issue, right? I mean, I could still do it, but I wouldn't want to do it because there's no incentive to top up for tax relief anymore. So let's go back to this $8,000 magic number, because it is a decision problem for most people, right? You think of this $8,000. Do you want it to use it as cash and invest in the markets? Or do you want to use this $8,000 to contribute to your CPF or top up your CPF for tax relief? Now, you see, with cash, you could use it to invest in equity markets, index fund return, maybe 8-10% per year. And then for tax relief, if you are in a higher tax bracket, maybe 11.5%, that's like a guaranteed savings for you. But if you're still uncertain, how about keeping that flexibility first? Because talking about $8,000, it may be a huge amount to some people while being a very small amount to other people. But the worst thing is to do nothing about it and just saving it in a bank while eroding away the purchasing value with the time value of money. So if you're still undecided, you can consider this money market fund promotion at 8.88% per annum by USmart Singapore. And this is on a subscription of up to $8,000, which is exactly the magic number that we are talking today. Let's take a look at the terms and conditions. This promo is only for new users or users with no prior deposits. To be eligible, you can use my exclusive link below to sign up for a USmart Singapore account. Make a net subscription with a minimum of 2,000 Singapore dollars and up to 8,000 Singapore dollars to the Maybank Money Market Fund. And if you don't know how to do it, here is a step-by-step guide. Open the USmart SG app and tap on Wealth Plus. Then click MMF, select Maybank Money Market ACC SGD. Then subscription, enter your subscription amount, and finally click Submit. Now, to be clear, this 8.88% per annum represents the total effective return for the 30 days promotional period. So it is not an additional interest on top of the fund's performance. Instead, USmart will top up any shortfall if the fund's return is lower than the promotional rates. Most importantly, hold it for 30 days or your rewards will be forfeited. You may also scan this QR code to sign up, and thank you to USmart for sponsoring this video. Now, to be clear, this promotion is not a CPF replacement. This is temporary flexibility while you reside. Parking $8,000 short-term for 30 days generate around $50 plus of rewards, which is not considered life-changing, right? But it is definitely better than idle cash with no plan, especially when the decision is not final yet. So if you're a viewer today and you watch one of my videos on reaching FRS full retirement sum by 30, so what should you aim for? I think the first thing you should do is stop comparing against old CPF benchmarks and old CPF policies, including mine, because it is not realistic anymore. A more realistic target is to hit the full retirement sum by your 40s, which I still think is a very commendable goal, especially if you achieve it before the age of 55. Because you have to remember that your funds above the full retirement sum, then they can be withdrawn. And I'm very sure liquidity matters more now compared to before. In this economy, CPF decisions are long-term and largely irreversible. But if CPF already fits your plans, just execute it. So coming back to the main question, $8,000, the magic number. Should you invest it, or should you contribute or top up your CPF, or should you leave it idle? Of course, I'm not saying that they are mutually exclusive. If you have all the funds, you can do both if you're optimistic. But the fact is, many people, they can only choose one to do it. If you top up your CPF, it reduces your tax expense, but it also locks up funds for decades. If you want to use the $8,000 to invest, then you must be sure that you already know what to invest, and you're giving up that tax relief opportunity that you could have put in CPF. So if you are still thinking and undecided, maybe a better option is to consider the USmart promo of Money Market Fund 8.88% when you subscribe to the Maybank Money Market Fund. I mean, just consider it as an option and don't take it as financial advice. It is just another avenue for you to earn more returns. So I think I've been quite honest that with the new policy change since 2022, I would never have hit full retirement sum by 30 if I was placed under this kind of new structure. And the only constant thing in life is change. Rules will change, policies will change, CPF will change. The only thing that you should change is yourself. Once you understand the rules of your era, then you can choose the best decision for yourself instead of relying on others for advice. So don't complain about the consequences, focus on what you can control. And if you haven't watched my CPF full retirement sum video for the year of 2026, you can refer to this video right here.